Let's get into it. I want to begin our conversation. First and foremost, thank you for taking a minute out. And I want to begin with the pandemic. I know we're all getting fatigued by talking about it, but it was, especially for musicians, such a momentous thing. Schedules evaporated, things just were thrown into a tailspin. How did you survive that time period, and how has it affected you now?
Yeah, it was really difficult because I was in Boston and I was studying and I was working at the same time. And then all of a sudden, everything happened. And I wasn't, it was the beginning, so we didn't know what was going on and what was going to happen. And I went back to Spain because I had a concert in Spain that I needed to attend. And when I got there, everything got canceled. So for me, it was mostly I wasn't able to come back because of what was happening, and I had my saxophone. I brought one saxophone with me, but I had all my saxophone in Boston, like my baritone and everything. So it was really like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like I have my whole life there, and now in Spain, I don't have I have my family, which is the most important thing, but I don't have my tools anymore with me, you know? So it was hard. But at the same time, I was a little bit grateful because I had that time with my family that I wasn't able to have every time. So it wasn't the best reason, but at least from everything, I wanted to be positive and acknowledge the fact that I was with them, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So take me back to your childhood in Spain, and how did this journey not only into music, but more specifically jazz? How did this all happen?
Yeah. So I had a teacher. First of all, my parents like they've never done music. They like music like everyone, right? But they never did music. And when I started saxophone, they didn't wanted me to start with saxophone. They wanted me to start violin. And I didn't know much about any of the instruments. I was like 6 years old or something. And in the beginning, I was like, I don't know why there's something that is telling me that I want to play saxophone. And then it became my life, basically. So I'm really happy for that. But I had a teacher that he went to Berkeley and he kept talking about it. He kept talking about jazz, and he was the one that opened my eyes to jazz because in Spain we have a lot of jazz, but of course, like it's nothing compared to America, right? Um, so it was really nice, and he introduced me to jazz, and I started like working harder and harder, and like just learning tunes and scribing, and it was really nice.
So your latest album is Somewhere in My Dreams.
Yes.
So was that influenced by the pandemic? How does this release feel for you?
Uh, it was influenced by right after the pandemic. So 2021, the pandemic happened. 2022, I went on tour. That's how it got me to, that's how I came back to America. Um, and I was just on tour and I got inspiration. I was really happy to be back in America, and I was like, I want to write something about it. Um, and that's how everything started. And there's some songs that are kind of like with that like influence of me not being able to go back to America and be in Spain with my family. There's a little bit of everything. But yeah,
So what was the first live jazz show you saw that made you think, I want to be on that stage? This is what I want to do with my life?
wow. Um, a couple of them. I remember one of the shows that I went to when I was like really young in Spain was Paquito de Rivera.
Yeah.
He used to go a lot, and he still goes a lot to Europe. And he plays also saxophone and clarinet and everything. Um, and also the way he is like it. I started talking to him after the show, and I was like really young. I was like maybe like 11 or 12,
Wow.
and he started talking to me, and I was just like a young kid, like just like learning saxophone, still like trying to go through my technique and everything. and he was really helpful, and his mindset was like you can do everything that you want, and you don't have, there's no like limit for you. And he also was trained classically because his dad was classically, so he was just like explaining me all those things. And then later on I met him um at Berkeley, like 15 years after or something like that. And and he remembered me kind of, and we started talking, and it was just really nice because he was one of the first ones that I was like, wow, like this is amazing.
Wow, and that's a legend. And it's amazing to me that the world of jazz, the elders are always so good with anybody that's interested, especially musicians. And
Yeah.
it's just testament to this art form that the torch just continually gets passed on in such a kind way to the younger generation.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like in order for you to become like a good musician, you always have to um like listen to the ones that were before, and just see what they were doing and listen to what they were doing, because it's the main thing. It's just really important.
So talk to me about coming to LA. What kind of culture shock was that? How does it feel to be in a new country and in kind of a new scene? How does that work for you?
So it was a bit of a shock to start with, because I was in Boston before, and Boston is really European. Like it has a lot of like, you could say that it's really close to Europe, that the mindset. And I came to LA because after the tour, I had all my friends that were coming here, and I was between LA and New York. And I decided to come here. And at the beginning, it was hard because it's a big city. There's many things happening, but you need to know where the things are happening. um and also like everyone is really busy. The good thing is that it's close to the mindset in Spain because of the weather, and that's kind of like reminds me like Spain. But it was hard because it's a totally different world compared to Spain.
Yeah. So, what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up every day? What motivates you to do this work that you do?
For me, first of all, is to get better just for myself. Like it's just something that I wake up and I don't want to get better just because I want to showcase something, but just because it makes me happy. If like for example, like I have a goal which is like, I don't know, like learning this tune that is maybe it's hard. Um, when I learn it, it just makes me happy. It makes me like I completed something, and that for me is the most important. Then after that, of course, like showcase what I have, and that it might help some other people that might like, other people might like it, right? um and I've been doing that, for example, with like jazz and flamenco. I've been like fusioning that, and I've gotten like people that has listened to the music, and they were like, "Oh, like I didn't know that this was a thing," which it was for a long time. It's not that I just came here and did it, but I didn't know that this was a thing, and now I'm into it and I like it. So that of course makes me happy that someone just got influenced by that music, right? Um,
So, who have been musical influences? The thing about being a musician, and I'm not, but I know enough about talking to musicians that you're always trying to find your voice.
yeah,
Who has been real seminal for you to find your voice on the instrument?
yeah. Um, many musicians. I would start with, of course, my teachers. They were important in my career path because they were the one that showed me later other musicians. But of course, like one of my favorites, Sonny Rollins. I've been prescribing him every time that I could. I love him. And then of course like John Coltrane, Charlie Parker. They're normal, the the main ones. And then like with a little bit of flamenco, it was also Jorge Pardo, which he plays saxophone, but he plays also flute, and he was one of the first ones to introduce like jazz and flamenco.
So, why do you love jazz? At the end of the day, you've dedicated your life to this art form. Why do you love it?
I love it because it's really open. When you say jazz, it's not, there's many roots. It's not just one kind of jazz. There can be different jazz. And I love that is really open. At the same time, it has a lot of rules inside it, but once you know them, you can break them. So I like that flexibility where you can just improvise. And yeah, there's like they use when you were in college or school, they used to tell you, oh, you need to do this and you need to do that. But once you know that, you can just like come up with whatever you want. And I love that because it connects me with my instrument and with the music. And I'm able to be free and not be thinking of like, oh, I need to make sure this is like this, right? So I think that's really, I love jazz because of that. It's really, really nice.
Who's been a hero for you in your life?
Um, Heroes, I would say apart from the musical path for sure, my parents.
Yeah,
I have to say that because from minute one they've been supported of my journey. Like I was an easy child, but my goals weren't easy. I wanted to come to America, and I was from Sevilla in a little city in Spain, and then I needed to have saxophones, and it wasn't just enough with the tenor. I needed to be an alto and then a baritone. So they were always supported, and they never and still now they are. They help me, they support me, and they were never like, okay, I think it's enough. I think you should like start doing something else. They always believe in me, and I wish like one day I can be like them. You know, for me that's the main thing.
so, in the world of jazz right now, if you could meet one musician or band that's out there, watch them live and meet them afterwards, who would that
Uh,
be?
um, I kind of have had I've done it already, but one of the bands that I really like because of their versatility is Stranky Pappy, because they're
Yeah,
more like modern jazz.
yeah.
And there are a lot of people, and they bring like singers sometimes, and sometimes just instrumental. Mostly is instrumental. They've done things with orchestra, and I love that they can do everything they want. And I saw them at a concert, and I actually like met a couple of them. Um, but they're really like they influenced me, of course, because they brought a different vision into jazz. And I think it was necessary, it was important to have it. And definitely, like I have had conversations with either Bob Reynolds, the saxophone player, or the drummer Spot, and it's just really interesting the way they see music. And it really influenced me after I had that talk with them.
So, if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see any jazz show, where are you going to go? Where would you love to be?
Um, I mean, I think um, I would definitely go like back in time and would go to the beginning of the beginnings in New Orleans when no one knew still what was going on, and they didn't know if they were gonna call it jazz or what. And I really would like to be there. Just it wasn't an easy time though, I have to say. Like it's not that jazz started out of like everything like being happy and being perfect, but I can tell that they just needed to tell a story, and they did it. They created a new style, and their way of like talk about everything that was going on in their lives was through their instrument and through improvisation and string at the time. Um, and I really love that. I would like to be there just as I don't have to be involved, just like see what was happening. because I can see it now, and I can imagine it by books and everything, but it would be nice to see it kind of like a movie.
Yeah.
I would like that for sure.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
That's a really good question, actually. Um, I think I'm a really strong person, that fights a lot for what she wants. I'm also really sensitive, and I'm also really shy many times. Um, but that's something that my mom always taught me, that is like to fight for whatever you want, and I think that's something that is really important. Like I wake up every day, I have a goal and I want to achieve it, and I don't stop until I get what I want, and then I continue. And if I don't get it, I don't I don't get sad, or I don't get kind of like shut down. I just learn from it, because many times in my career I wanted, like, I don't know, I wanted to play in this place, and for some reason it didn't happen. And I didn't like change my perspective and start to think, oh, maybe it's because I'm not good enough. Or I was just like, okay, this path didn't work. Let me just try another one. Because at the end of the day, it's about that, you know? So I was saying that, like, hardworking person mostly, and I think I'm kind, like I'm sensitive. I'm kind to everyone. Like whenever I play with my band, I want to make sure there's always like a good environment. For me, it's really important, because if we all have egos and we're all trying to beat the other person, it's just not gonna, the music is not gonna be great. And the first thing is that the music is great, and that we feel like the music is going well because of us, because we we take care of each other.
So, of everything that you've accomplished and done so far, what are you the proudest of?
Um, a few things. One of the things, like, for the saxophone world, is that I became a summer artist, which for me was like important. Now that I am, I realize that it's just one more thing. But at the moment, for me, when I was like a little kid, I was looking up to all the people that were like artists, and I was like, oh my God, like they're the best, and that's why they're sponsored by the company. And that, I remember, that was like one of the things that I was like, oh wow, I made it, even if it's just like a tiny thing. Um, and then of course, like, I work with the series hacks, and like I compose like a little bit for them. And I play sax too in it, which, and I also appear on the on the series, which is nice. And that was really good, because it was in the beginning when I came to LA, and it was kind of the start of like, oh, I'm in LA, and this is how it works. Like, you might be like playing your shows here and there, but you also can like go and do music for films, or do anything like that. Um, so many things, but to name a few of them, I think those two, like, they were like really important.
So, Somewhere in My Dreams is the latest album. If
Hmm.
anyone wants to pick it up that will benefit you the most, see you live, any of the
Yes.
good business, previous work, where can they go?
For previous work, there was another album that I did, that is called Revolution, but it's a totally completely different thing. Like, it's more like contemporary style, which it has a little bit of like influence to some flamenco, some influences from jazz, but it's a totally different thing. It's more contemporary. And then of course, like, everything's on my website, or social media, Alicia Saxophone, and yeah, you can find everything there.
Excellent. This has been wonderful. I'm so glad that we ran into each other. Thank you so
Of
much,
course,
and
thank
best of
you.
luck with everything.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah,
too.
you bet.